Welcome to another edition of Panther Sports Talk right here on WIU. Today we're talking about EIU's big football victory over San Diego State and also a cross-country preview. All that and much more right here on Panther Sports Talk.
Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's has alignment checks along with oil changes. Located at 800 Madison in Charleston. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.
Welcome to another edition of Panther Sports Talk. I'm your host, Rich Moser. We're joined by EIU head coach Dino Babers. And Coach, I've been kind of thinking about different ways to open this show, and the one that kind of came to mind actually hit me this morning. I was walking past a couple of my neighbors, and the one phrase they used to me as they drove by is, "How about them Panthers?"
I'll tell you what, how about those Panthers? I thought that the young men's effort was unbelievable. I was talking to Coach Spoo. He had gave me a call, and I was talking to him. I said, "Coach, I just really wish you could see the game and see the effort that these guys put out on the football field for themselves, for Eastern Illinois, for the Charleston Mattoon community." I have not seen an effort like that in a long, long time. And it was something precious. It was something that was great to see.
Now, I was fortunate I broadcast the game with Mike Brad, and he and I, as the time was winding down in the fourth quarter, and as you know, you've been a ball coach a long time, the game is never over until the final snap, but you knew when we got up a couple scores there at the end, the last couple minutes, that good things were going to happen in our favor. And he and I kind of tried to sum it up. And one of the biggest victories in EIU history, and I know you've had now a couple days to sink that in, and he and I compared it. The only other one that we probably think on paper resonates against it is the national championship as a Division II, because anytime you win a national championship, that's hard to overcome. But this one challenges for one of the best games in EIU football history.
Well, you know, it's interesting because once you get in the game, you don't see that. All you see is contest. All you see is other people's coaches and players in front of you, and you're just trying to win the game. But so I can't talk about, you know, where this lies in EIU history. I can tell you that I'm glad that I have never lost a game that against you know, Rocky Long. So I wanted to keep that streak alive, and the offensive coordinator helped me with his name.
Bob Toledo.
Bob Toledo had, I made a mistake as a young offensive coordinator. When I was at the University of Arizona, I made a mistake, and UCLA ended up beating us, and I've never been able to let that go, so it was good to get a win over him, just kind of to clean the slate a little bit. But it's all about the kids. It's not about me and my old records and the things in my past. It's about these young men, and I told them at halftime, I said, relax, save your energy, kill all the noise. I said, if you focus and you play better than what you just did, this experience will live with you the rest of your life. And now they've got a lifetime moment that they'll always be able to remember, and they'll be able to share with each other when they get together and have those reunions.
Now, you talk about that, and a lot of times you've played these games more so as an FBS coach against FCS coaches, and a lot of times we preceded it last week. Your ones typically on good FCS teams can play with the ones on the other teams. It's when you start getting into the 2s and 3s that those scholarships and the talent level of those kids on scholarships really start to separate the two teams. You guys played right with them in the first half. They came out and they tied it up in the second half, and you kind of felt some momentum was going that way, that maybe they were kind of finally finding their stride. Kind of in that moment, what did you kind of talk to the team about and to keep them focused, to realize that, okay, we don't want to let San Diego State kind of get going to where they could blow us out in the second half?
Well, that really started on Monday and Tuesday when I was talking to the team, Rich. And I told them, I said, you know, when you're playing up, you got to understand what you're about to do. What you're about to do is you're about to get into a fight. And you're going to hit the guy as hard as you can. And he's not going to go down. And then he's going to hit you as hard as he can. and you can't go down. And then the fight is on. Once both guys have survived the 2 punches, then the fight's on, and then it's just a matter of not quitting. Most fights are not won. Most fights are given to the other person because the other one quits because they're tired of fighting. And I just told them, don't stop fighting.
Now, the way you guys kind of did that is you kept just kind of pounding the ball away, the one play that you've added to the arsenal for this year. Now, you may not use it the rest of the year as you guys ran the shovel pass. The first team I can ever recall doing that was Alabama in the early 90s. They did a great job of that, and it really kind of gave them other dimensions. I'm not saying that's who you guys took it from, but that's the first time I've seen you add that little wrinkle to your offense.
Well, I was watching that movie, Remember the Titans, and they had that one high school team that was moving around, and they were doing that thing, and they said, well, what is that? Is that even legal? Yeah, I think it's a shovel pass. I think the Dallas Cowboys did it. So we thought it was a good move. We thought we'd put it in. No, it was a situation where when you looked at the way their defense was structured and how hard they rushed the passer, and then you back that up with how much man-to-man coverage they played, they really limited the plays that you could do to slow down the rush. They had really had a handle on a lot of things, and I felt that the one thing that they would have some trouble with was the shovel. Now, it was difficult getting it in, especially with my staff, because they don't like a lot of change. But they decided to finally let the old coach put it in, and it looks like it worked out okay for us.
Now, you talk about rushing the passer. I know I was out there at a couple of your practices going in, and you had very made that a point of emphasis with the offensive line and with the running backs and even the receivers that they're going to fake, they're going to come from one side, but they're going to come from this side. You guys all have to make yourself eligible blockers to help us be successful today. And as part of that, the offensive line was rewarded the first time in the history of the league that as a unit, they were the offensive player of the week, all 5 of those guys. So I know you're proud not only of them, but the entire job that the offensive unit did. And really, Jimmy only went down 1 or 2 times, was barely even touched, got up. If you saw his jersey, other than when he fell down on himself sliding, you wouldn't have known that he maybe even played in the game.
Now, you know I'm going to keep it accurate, Rich. He got hit 3 times, and that was 3 times too many. But I thought the job of the offensive line was unbelievable. And when you talk about the protections, you have to tie in the running backs. Taylor Duncan and Shep Little did a fabulous job back there with the offensive line. We even had some situations where the tight end had to block sometimes. So our hats off to those guys. And then you tie it in with the receivers. I mean, there's some times where a defense can just overload you, and it doesn't matter how many blockers you have, they can get to your quarterback. And that's when a receiver has to break off a route so that the ball can get out of Jimmy's hands. And we wanted to win the game, but we definitely wanted to make sure that our quarterback survived. And I thought the young men did a fabulous job of protecting Jimmy, and Jimmy did a really nice job of getting the ball out of his hands.
Now, the other parts of the offense there, you talk about Shep Little. He came in, first time he's got to play, and he showed that he's not only a running back, very multidimensional, return to kickoff early in the fourth quarter a punt return for a touchdown that really kind of gave you that little bit of a cushion and maybe allowed your defense to play maybe a little bit different in the fact that now San Diego State had to go into kind of a hurry-up tempo, and they're not built for that.
Well, first of all, it was great to see Shep make a play like that. It was great to see special teams make a play like that. We all remember our special teams from last year, and it was like, oh my God, it's a special teams play. And we all had that yucky feeling in our stomach. And it was good not to have that feeling, to see them come up with a big play. And I believe it was a 19 or 26-19. Mm-hmm. And when that thing happened, it was a great momentum swing. It wasn't so much that the score was out of reach, because I don't feel that was the case at all. But once we ran that punt return back, I mean, I think all the non-believers said, you know what, we're going to win. And I think that swag carried over to everything after that play, offensively, defensively, and special teams.
Now, we'll focus a little bit on the defense. The offense had a great performance, but the defense really shut down a potent San Diego offense, and they were able to really kind of stuff the run game. That's something that San Diego State did extremely well last year. Adam Muima, they held to like 17 yards. They had a young freshman came in. They kind of contained him. Really only one missed assignment is how they scored their touchdown. Other than that, you limit them to 4 field goals.
A missed assignment on the reverse?
Yes.
That was not a missed assignment on the reverse. That reverse, we had outside leverage on the reverse guy. We had an inside field player coming, and we had a guy coming straight at him. Okay, and it was 4 yards deep in the backfield. That was a great individual play by an individual player. From a defensive standpoint, if you'd have stopped the tape when that guy was behind the line of scrimmage and said, is that tackle going to be made, you'd have my house right now in my car. I mean, that guy is just a special guy. And I was 24, I want to say Lockett maybe is his name. But, I mean, and that's the reason why we didn't kick off to him. The guy is truly special, and none of our guys can catch him. So we didn't want to give him too many opportunities. Now, that being said, I thought the defense was fabulous. I thought that Coach McLeod and the whole defensive staff, my hat goes off to them. Our defensive line up front, Pat, John, Dino, even Timotheus, he ended up getting hurt, and then Simpkins came in. I mean, I thought they did a fabulous job. The linebackers, Adam, Robert, Kamu, LaQuince, all those guys were back there making plays. And then the two safeties, I mean, wow, Nick Beard and Jordan. I mean, how many times where they had their hands on balls and were striking receivers? I mean, those guys came up and hit some guys out of the secondary, and then you could hear the sound, you could hear it. And then, of course, Alex with the 2 interceptions, Petey battling every day, DJ Bland, everything that he was doing. I mean, it was a total team effort. It really was. And Rich, I know you can appreciate this, but I want to say this to the Charleston, Mattoon, Effingham community, Coles County. You have to come out and you have to watch this football team, because when you're on TV or if you're watching on the internet, you're really not experiencing, you're not hearing what this team is all about. You should be able to come to a football game, close your eyes, and hear a good football team. You can hear them communicating with their lips, and you can hear them communicating with their shoulder pads. And this is a good football team. I don't know if we'll ever win another game. I don't know if we'll win another one. But this is a good football team. I'll stand behind this football team. You need to come watch them live.
All right. Good segue there, Coach. Talking about the next football game, you guys play Southern Illinois this next week coming up, 6 o'clock start down there in Carbondale. Their coach has kind of already talked a little bit about how the roles are reversed in terms of how the two teams are kind of coming in to this year's game. Last year you came in and you were fortunate in the fact that you guys had played Southern Illinois, Coach Spoo's last game. Southern Illinois really had manhandled them, and it gave you kind of a little extra incentive, or whatever you want to call it, to kind of fire up the guys and say, the ones of you that were on the team, you remember what it felt like when you walked off the field against them last year. Give them that little bit of drive. He's got to be using that same kind of speech himself, saying, hey, do you guys remember they blew us out last year? They really owned us down there in Charleston. How do you, with a big win at San Diego State, keep the guys focused that this game is just as important as the one they just played and the next 9 or 10 that are down the road as well?
You know, first of all, it's Southern Illinois. And, you know, we're Eastern Illinois. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a rivalry. And, I mean, they have 4 guys. I think they have 4 starters from the state of Illinois on their football team. And we have 12 from the state of Illinois starters from our football team. And, you know, we want to win the state. And we're glad. We think we have a good conference. They think they have a good conference. We're lucky that we get an opportunity to play them, and we look forward to it. And we know it's going to be a difficult game. I mean, their game against the U of I and ending up on the 3-yard line with 4 plays and a chance to go for 2 and win versus, the flagship school of state. I mean, that's a big deal. And we would like to go down there and find out where we're at as a team. And playing them after they've gone to an 8-point loss against U of I, after that game, we should kind of know where we're at. So we're interested going down there and finding out how we can compete, if we can compete, and to see what the outcome may be.
Okay, Coach, 1 or 2 players from their team, I know you haven't looked at a lot of film yet because you're very focused on one game at a time, that stand out to you either from last year's game that you've kind of, those are key guys that you want to focus on, or maybe a newcomer that you kind of saw in the film the other day for them?
Well, it's not so much an individual. I think you need to go by the positions. Just watching the tape, I think their tailbacks are exceptional. They have like 4 tailbacks. They have 2 transfers from FBS schools and all that kind of stuff. Their quarterback is a 5th-year senior, so obviously he's going to manage the game for them, and actually threw for really nice numbers up there against the U of I. So offensively, it looks like they're set. They've got a veteran quarterback. Their tailbacks are probably the best part of their team. They've got some big guys, and I imagine they'd want to pound the football on us. From a defensive standpoint, they've got last year they got after our quarterback really well. I believe they had almost 5 sacks, maybe their highest game all year as far as the sack count was. So they got after our quarterback. They got to hit Jimmy, and they've got some really athletic DBs. I know they got one guy from the state of Texas that plays corner for them. So their athletes are exceptional. They're tall, they're lean, they're fast. They've got a heck of a defensive line. They got a veteran quarterback, and their tailbacks make their team go. So I'm sure it's going to be a physical game, and I know Coach Lennon, he'll have his team ready, and it's on their turf. So I think that's a 3-point swing right there in the Vegas books. So we're already down 3.
All right, Coach, well, best of luck down there. We'll talk to you next week. We'll wrap up the Southern Illinois game. We'll preview the big Mid-America Classic game with Illinois State, which will be the home opener on the 14th, and we'll recap last year's game against them, that double overtime thriller, and precede that. And like Coach said, we encourage you to kind of come out for the 14th. There's a game down in Carbondale. It's only a 2-hour drive, so come on down there and support the Panthers on the road since we're going to be close. For some reason you don't want to make the drive, at least listen to us. It'll be on the Panther Football Radio Network. It'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff. Coach, best of luck. We'll talk to you next week. We'll be right back with This Week in EIU Athletics.
Panther fans, here's what's going on in Panther athletics. Panther football with the 40-19 win at San Diego State, the 5th all-time win over an FBS school. EIU is 1-0 to start the season. Volleyball starts the season 1-3. They were in Toledo, Ohio for the Toledo tourney. Their one win came against Marist, 3-0. Women's soccer drops to 0-4 on the season. They lost twice in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the Green Bay tourney. Men's soccer had their season opener at Illinois Chicago postponed due to weather. Women's rugby starts the season 0-1. They fell to Quinnipiac 65-7 at Lakeside Field. And tennis hosted alumni matches over at Darling Courts. Now here's what to watch for this week. On Friday, men's soccer is in Dayton, Ohio for the Dayton tourney. They'll take on Lipscomb at 4:30. Women's soccer also with a 4:30 match. They're at Ball State. Cross Country gets their season underway. They're on the Panther Trails at 4:45. They're hosting the Walt Crawford Invite. Volleyball is in Des Moines, Iowa for the Drake tourney. They'll take on South Dakota State at 5 o'clock. On Saturday, women's rugby is at Lakeside Field as they'll take on the Wisconsin All-Stars at 1 o'clock. Volleyball with 2 matches at the Drake tourney. They'll take on the host Bulldogs at 1 o'clock, and then they'll take on the DePaul Blue Demons at 5 o'clock. And Panther football is in Carbondale to take on Southern Illinois at 6 o'clock. You can listen to that game on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU, or you can view it online at GoSalukis.com. On Sunday, men's soccer continues action at the Dayton tourney. They'll take on Northern Kentucky at 11 o'clock. And men's golf is in Edwardsville, Illinois for the SIU Edwardsville Fall Invite. Competition will take place for 3 days. For Panther Sports Talk, I'm Ramin Karbasioun.
And the Panthers' final sport of the fall will get underway this Friday. We have a preview of the EIU men's and women's cross country programs.
Lights off? Yeah. Okay. Just letting you know.
EIU Cross Country opens the 2013 season September 6th when they host their annual Walt Crawford Open. And head coach Erin Howarth says that the experience of the men's roster and the youth of the women's team will provide different dynamics. But when it all comes down to it, both squads will rely on teamwork to accomplish their ultimate goal.
On the men's side, we've got a much older team than on the women's side. And arguably, on paper, probably the best team we've had in a very long time. We had a great gathering this weekend talking about teamwork and how important it is to sacrifice a little bit of yourself at all times for the team. And everyone has bought into this. Everyone is beyond excited about what we know we can do this year as a team, but it's going to take everybody to stay focused. And when the stress really gets going of school and the miles and you get sick or you might get a little banged up, we need to carry through that and be able to pick each other up when everyone has, everyone's bound to have a bad day every now and then. Don't let that one bad day turn into a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So we're ready, and I feel like the last 2 years we've gotten better and progressively understood what it means to be a team and just toe the line and say, hey, if I have a bad day today, I'm going to do everything I can to make someone else have a good day. And that's kind of been our stress this year. So I'm excited to see that these older guys are going to be able to teach the younger people that and know that that's what it's going to take to do what we want to do.
Yeah, we have a lot of returners this year. Graduated only a few people, but basically all returners, so looking tough this year. It's not just, you know, one person that they're looking up to. Basically, they have a whole group of guys that they can see, basically get a work ethic and stuff like that, and just other values on the team, kind of gain a lot of wisdom from a lot of people.
We're really excited. We have a lot of new talent coming in, especially a few freshmen. We also have some pretty good returners, and I'm excited to see what happens.
We only have 5 upperclassmen, 2 fifth-year seniors and 3 juniors. So we are incredibly young, which is very, very exciting, but at the same time, you know, you're really relying heavily on those upperclassmen to teach those younger underclassmen what it means to be a Panther, what it means to be on a team that has continued to progress with the success that we've had in recent years. So Emily Pedziwiatr, Gaby Duenas-Delaney, 2 excellent leaders, and we're really looking to them to carry us through and let them understand what it means to talk through races and help people out from that 3 to 4K when it really starts to hurt and you really start to get that gut check. And we've had some great workouts, the last 2 especially, that have really let me know that they're teaching them well and that they're going to let them take on the tradition that Caitlin Napoleone and Brittany Whitehead and Olivia Klaus and Stephanie Peisker and all those women have tried to set forth in recent years.
One story to watch on the women's side is the return of Gaby Duenas-Delaney, who was a first-team All-Conference selection as a sophomore in 2010 and second-team All-OVC in 2011 when the Panthers won the conference title, before an injury sidelined her for over a year. She just says she's glad she's okay, and she's ready to help the Panthers chase down another OVC championship in 2013.
I had WPW, which was an extra electrical path in my heart, and whenever I just got diagnosed with that almost exactly a year ago, they told me, you know, like, we're not sure if we're going to be able to fix this, you know, like, you might not be able to run competitively again just because it's very dangerous to run with this thing in your heart. So pretty much I had to wait until after the surgery to see, like, and after like about a month of recovery to see if, like, you know, the running was still a realistic expectation, and it was, and everything turned out great, and I was able to still, you know, run at a very hard level.
It's been, like, living with her is kind of, we'll see how she's recovered and coming back, and yeah, it was really tough how long she was out with injury, and seeing when she was, you know, in a bad mood because she's not running, because that's what we do, we're runners, we run, and if you kind of throw that off, then, you know, you kind of get some negative consequences where just, you know, bad mood, and it was finally kind of see her start coming back over the summer, start seeing her get really fit. It was fun to see. I'm really happy for her, so I'm excited to see what she can do this year.
It was pretty tough. My injury was a heart surgery, so I mean, it was a long recovery time, and you just have to stay patient and just believe that you will get back to that level, if not better. So it took me about a year. I haven't competed in, yeah, pretty much almost a year and a half. So yeah, just definitely, you know, like, keep smart, keep positive, and stay confident in your fitness and that you'll get it back. So yeah, that's how I trained all summer. Just, you know, stayed positive and kept working really hard to get back to where I was in 2011.
Following the Crawford meet, the Panthers will run the remainder of their schedule away from home, and Coach Howarth says that while their schedule is a tough one, the Panthers only want to run against the best of the best.
The schedule is really important in cross country because it's an interesting way that you get points, so to speak, throughout the season. You have to beat certain teams in order to make it to the national championships. And although maybe, you know, teams don't look as much at that as they should, I think for us, we just want to have the best schedule we possibly can so that every time we toe the line, we know that we're running against the best, and we're going to only get better by doing that. So we've switched up the schedule a little bit this year, but not a whole lot. But I'm excited to be on some of the fastest courses and the best courses in the Midwest, and really the ones in the Midwest are the ones that all the teams around the country come to because this is where most of the big meets are.
We're always going after the conference win.
Yeah.
I know we look at the rankings to motivate us, but the goal every year is to win that conference and then score top 15 at regionals.
Team expectations, it's hard to say this early because we have to see actually our first, you know, couple races, how it starts playing out, but we want to make a push for nationals, but if not that, we do want to place a lot higher at regionals than what we have been. somewhere in the top 10. And I really think we can do that with the depth we have this year. So I have a lot of expectations. I know guys worked really hard over the summer. They're working really hard right now. We have a very few amount of people injured right now, so I think we can do a lot of things.
Definitely score the highest we've ever been at regionals, or the lowest, I guess the highest to the top at regionals than we've ever been. Most definitely win conference. That's always the goal every season, like Emily said. And I think it's very doable this year. We have a great team, lots of very talented freshmen, some sophomores that are stepping up.
Reporting for Panther Sports Talk, I'm Brad Kupiak.
That wraps up another edition of Panther Sports Talk right here on WIU. Thanks for watching. A reminder, you can listen to this week's football game, 6 o'clock start down in Carbondale on the Panther Football Radio Network. We'll see you right back here next week.
Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's has alignment checks, along with oil changes. Located at 800 Madison in Charleston. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.